What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Deej. Thank y'all for joining me and watching another video today. Today we're going to be doing another NBA sports overview. We've had some moves go down over the last several days, and I even too just thought about this trade and forgot to put it in my notes. But we'll talk about that and everything, and and we'll get to that today. So obviously, it's a very exciting today as well. Today is NBA draft day. I'm really excited. Unfortunately, I'm going to be working during the draft, but obviously I do expect for the top three, right, for the lottery. Definitely paying close attention to the lottery, and also I'm looking forward to seeing where Walter Clayton Jr., probably my third favorite prospect in this draft. Huge contributor and top player for the Florida Gators and winning their national championship. And just I'm actually hoping that my Hawks, they draft him, or him staying in Florida, going to the Miami Heat. That would be a really good pick for them, getting someone who's an elite shot creator, can shoot off the dribble, can hit a lot of the tough shots, and I think he can really, to me, he is an NBA player, and to me deserves to be a lottery pick, but he'll probably go a little later. But I do expect Walter Clayton to hear his name called tonight. Also to Cooper Flagg, expecting no surprises. I do expect him to be the number one overall pick, and rightfully so. National Gatorade Player of the Year. He did everything for Duke, led them in points, rebounds, I think assists, and even a two-way player as well. And it's just crazy after him, the Mavericks getting lucky with that pick with the 1.8% odds, and seeing them get Cooper Flagg the year after they traded, not even a year after trading Luka, and him joining AD. They re-signed Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, of course, as y'all know, 3 years, $119 million. It's a pretty discount. Not gonna lie, it's a pretty much of a discount, right? But Kyrie is coming off that injury, so to get him under $40 million, I think that's just under $40 million, $39.6 million, I think, from when I researched it, did the numbers. I think Kyrie is worth more than that. I was watching First Take today, and Stephen A. alluded to it. But I think certainly, Kyrie's worth more. But obviously, he is getting older and coming off the injury. But I do expect Kyrie Irving, when he's fully healthy, to really play a huge role on this team. And I'm just happy for him. And, they got the deal done, and rightfully so there. Also, Fred VanVleet, he declined his player option, and is going to sign a 2-year, $50 million extension. And I think that was a wonderful deal for the Rockets. As y'all know, they just traded for Kevin Durant. With that trade, sending Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks to the Suns, and that 10th overall pick. The Suns still have the 10th overall pick, so we'll see who they pick. Maybe do they go after Walter Clayton Jr., but I don't think that would be a great fit, because they really need a point guard and some additional front court help. To hopefully they can try to salvage and build around Devin Booker and not waste his prime, with him being now 29 years old. So we'll look to see there. I think it's a great deal for VanVleet. Obviously didn't have the best regular season. He did come on strong in the postseason, put up some really good numbers after game one, and tried to really put the team on his back with some good performances. Just obviously with them not having that true go-to guy, that's why getting Kevin Durant is so important, because you finally have that legit top guy who can who can be your go-to scorer. And Kevin Durant is capable, and he is a number one option, in the NBA still is, gives you 26 a night. So KD with Houston, I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I do expect Houston to make some noise with that young core and Kevin Durant on the squad, and Ime Udoka as the coach. Obviously, so we had some trades go down the other night. Jrue Holiday, he was traded to the Portland Trail Blazers for Anthony Simons and a draft pick I think a second round pick. And again, these moves for the Celtics, as y'all know, they're making these moves to get under the luxury tax, and to get under the second apron, because they were deep into the second apron. And obviously, as y'all know, they're under new ownership as well. They got the Celtics new ownership purchased the Celtics for $6 billion. The Lakers just went for $10 billion, from the Dodgers owner and the Buss family. So man, crazy big purchases in the NBA. And even the Portland Trail Blazers themselves, they're under purchase as well, getting sold as well. So a lot of teams being sold here. So, but Jrue Holiday, right, he's kind of been on the decline a little bit. Now again, he didn't really have to play, he didn't have to put up huge numbers. He just had to really come in and really play his role. And again, coming in, being that missing piece. You trade Marcus Smart for Drew Holiday, basically a better overall player. Both are similar, but of course, Drew Holiday more efficient player, shooter, and also as a point guard as well. So, Drew Holiday coming in and, helping lead Boston to getting their first title in a while, and getting them their 18th championship in franchise history. Last year, obviously, was disappointing, or this past season was a bit disappointing, right? Shout out to my boys, John and Sia, the Knicks. They took down the defending champs in 6. Jaylen Brown, wishing him a full recovery from his Achilles injury. And the East is wide open, and we're seeing a lot of with the Boston Celtics, with Dame going down, Giannis uncertainty with Milwaukee. There's just so many, and just a lot more moves. I'm trying to think of, there's so much uncertainty too. What are the Heat gonna do? Obviously in today's draft and stuff like that. The East is wide open. Oh yeah, and with Tyrese Halliburton now going down, man, prayers for Tyrese Halliburton, man. He was on his way, in my opinion, having a generational Game 7 versus OKC. He goes down, so what are the Pacers going to look like without their guy? And, Tatum and just Dame. And, too, the Eastern Conference, and you're seeing, too, the Orlando Magic, they traded for Desmond Bane again, So, to me, once the Knicks figure out their coaching situation, they are interviewing Taylor. They've interviewed Taylor Jenkins and Mike Nordy, the assistant from the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we'll see too. Once they get their coach figured, I don't know why Michael Malone they haven't interviewed him yet. He is, to me, he would be a great pickup for them to be their next head coach, and it just would be a great fit. And he knows, I think, seeing what he was able to do with Jokic and Murray all those years, winning a title with those guys, I think he could really have the same impact, knowing how to play with a really good point guard and a shooter of similar skill set. Obviously, not comparing the player, of course, Nikola Jokic clears Cat, but a shooting big man, really talented with that skill set, and maybe can coach him harder on getting in shape and playing, better defense as well. So, but we'll see what the Knicks do. I wouldn't mind the Mike Nordy, because Mike Nordy's done a really good job. He's done a really good job coaching with the Timberwolves, and he's done a great job. Even had to coach in the playoffs last season when Chris Finch tore his patella tendon that one game. So, and then obviously Taylor Jenkins, very accomplished coach. To me, he didn't deserve to lose his job, in my opinion. He had done a great job with Memphis, just obviously with Ja, not really, him getting injured, and with the off the field stuff, Jaren Jackson's, injury woes, and, so I think he'd be, seeing what he was able to do, I think he'd be a great fit, seeing what he was able to do there as well. Let's talk about more further the news. So, the Pelicans, they made a trade in the Wizards, right? So the Pelicans, they're going to get Jordan Poole, Saddiq Bey, and a future in the 40th overall pick in today's draft from the Wizards. And in return, the Wizards get CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a second-round pick. So let's kind of break this down. So this now gives the Washington Wizards over $100 million in cap space. But obviously, I don't expect no star players or the Wizards to attract any star talent. And nor should anybody go to Washington. They are just, they're in purgatory right now. They are like kind of how it was for Detroit until they became good. It's purgatory right now. So hopefully, at some point Washington can become, relevant and good again. But, again, just adding CJ McCollum. McCollum since 2015 has averaged over 20 points per game. So he's one of few players, if not the only guy to do that. Or obviously since LeBron James and others and stuff like that. But they get younger for the Pelicans. They get younger. Jordan Poole is obviously freed from this. I'm happy for him getting out of Washington. Poole led the Wizards in scoring with over 20.5 points a game, 3 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and a steal per game. Shot 43% from the floor. So Poole obviously, played a huge part on that championship with Golden State. Obviously, things came crashing down with the incident with Draymond Green, was traded to the Wizards for Chris Paul. And, he's been solid. He's been a really solid player. Can give you 20 a night, and, can also play both, point guard and also be your 2 guard. So has that versatility in the backcourt. Obviously, CJ McCollum, fortunate for him, he now joins Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart as a veteran sent to Washington. We'll see if CJ McCollum stays there if he plays it out or if he'll get traded again. Sadiq Bey, really solid role player who can start, can come off the bench. He did not play last year due to a torn ACL that he suffered with us during his time in Atlanta. So getting him in the fold, adding a role player, and obviously, with New Orleans, they need some depth, some wing depth with, of course, Zion Williamson with his constant injury woes. Trey Murphy is a really talented wing player. He just has to stay healthy. He's had some injury woes as well. He's coming off that shoulder. And Kelly Olynyk, played 20 games, averaged 10 points per game. He's been a trade piece, basically, overall. So I'm not going to get much into Kelly Olynyk. But obviously with the Pelicans, they get younger, they get some depth, and they get their pick back. And then the Wizards, they're just adding more salaries to basically give them enough to where they now have a lot of cap space. They have over $100 million in cap space. And they've got a very young team. We'll see if they can do something, right? It's really all to do. And we'll see with the Pelicans. Can Zion Williamson stay healthy? And can Trey Murphy, can their core stay healthy? And can the Pelicans make a push in the Western Conference? Unfortunately, with how competitive it is, I don't see that happening. Now, this trade, though, I'm really itching to see how this goes. I'm pretty excited about it as well. And this is another salary dump move for the Celtics, right? Because they're trying to get under that second apron. They're now under the second apron. With this move, they clear over $200 million in tax, tax stuff. So with the Hawks, my Hawks, we're going to get Kristaps Porzingis from the Celtics, and in return, the Celtics, we're going to send Georges Niang and a second-round pick to the Celtics. And the Nets, this is a 3-team trade. The Nets get Terrence Mann from us, the Hawks, and a first-round pick. So the Nets now have 5 first-round picks in tonight's draft. Will they use all of those picks? I'm not sure. I think they use 3 and they trade 2 in some other trades. But maybe they use all of them and they just stack up on players and see who becomes a star out of it, right? So they got a lot of picks for the Nets. Let's talk about it, right? Because obviously Kristaps Porzingis. Now Porzingis, look, we know what he is at this point, right? Really solid player. Porzingis has always been solid. Plays on both ends on the floor. This past season averaged 19.5 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, and a block per game. But he only played, I think, 47 games. And I don't know what happened to him in the playoffs. He got really sick, had an infection or something like that, this mysterious illness. And he played in the playoffs, but he was terrible. He just wasn't himself. Became basically unplayable. Like, him not playing, I think, is what really changed the series and what really gave New York, them not having that 7'3" unicorn who can block shots and protect the rim. It really affected things. And also it affected too, because he's a great fit in Mazzulla's 3-point shooting scheme, and him not being himself compared to how it was in the postseason. Him not being able to play and play at his best, it definitely affected the Celtics. But of course, you give New York credit for taking advantage of that and playing well. So hopefully, and obviously, that's the thing with Porzingis, right? If he can stay healthy, pairing him with Trae Young, he wants a big man who can, play defense, but also space the floor as well. And Porzingis, Porzingis just remains solid. He still gives you 20 a night, 7 rebounds, and, is a force on the defensive end, and shot a career high 41% from 3. To me, this is a great pickup in that aspect, but obviously it's about him staying healthy. Georges Niang played well for us coming off the bench, 12 points per game, shot 44%, 41% from 3. He'll fit well with the Celtics. And then obviously Terrence Mann goes to Brooklyn. Shout out to him. He goes back home to New York and he averaged 9 points a game, played for the Clippers before being traded to us in that Bogdanovich trade. Averaged just under 10 points per game, shot 54% with us, and shot 38.6% from 3. So again, Terrence Mann has been a solid role player. Obviously had that huge game in the playoffs. I remember, I think he had 39 points in the playoffs that one game when he was with the Clippers. So Terrence Mann is a really good, solid role player, 3-and-D guy, plays very well in the defensive end and can shoot the 3 ball. And again, now you pair Porzingis, you add him in the starting 5, so you've got Trey at point, you've got Dyson Daniels. If we get a healthy, and Jalen Johnson's ceiling to me, y'all, if he can stay healthy as well, his ceiling to me is through the roof. He has a young star in the making. And then you have Zachary Risachet, getting him developed as well, Onyeka Okongwu, and I'm hoping even too, we've got the 13th overall pick. We still have that pick. Maybe we add some more depth. We're also the Hawks are pursuing per Bleacher Report Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so adding another wing 3-and-D player, and he was outstanding in the postseason. He didn't have a and so like that game versus Game 5, after having that amazing Game 4, the whole team, Minnesota team, they were done by the full quarter. So obviously he went, I think, scoreless in that game. Didn't make a field goal, but honestly, I could honestly care less about the performance because Minnesota lost the game in the first quarter. They were done. Nobody really had a good game. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker, as y'all know, he is the cousin of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the champ. But look, the Nickeil Alexander-Walker in his career has been a phenomenal 3-and-D role player, can start if needed to, and he can come off the bench, which is his best fit. And surrounding Trae Young with talent. In the Hawks, we've got cap space now, even with bringing in Porzingis. Giving him an extension would, I think, would bring his salary and stuff down as well and create some more space. So, like my boy Sai alluded to, since we've gotten the new GM, Ansar Salah, he has been making moves. So, very excited. And with the East being wide open, adding Porzingis, bringing in a potential NWA, and then you sign, and then hopefully we can draft someone in the draft with that 13th pick. Like I said, I would hope we get Walter Clayton Jr., a guy who can come off the bench, can even start if need be, and can come in and be an elite shot creator. And he could be a 2-guard next to Trae, or, come off the bench and be our super 6-man or something like that. That would be phenomenal. We're getting just adding more to our front court, adding more, building some defense around Trae Young where Trae Young can feed his guys. I'm ecstatic. I'm a little ecstatic. I think the Hawks are going to be a lot better and can at least be in the 6th seed conversation, be in the postseason conversation for sure with the Eastern Conference, with the uncertainty and everything, with all the injuries and stuff. So I'm excited for that. Again, NBA draft. Also want to talk about this before we end this video. Shams Charania also reported that the Celtics may not be done even after trading Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. There is a huge interest. There's some interest, huge amount of that, for potentially a trade surrounding Jaylen Brown and Derek White. They've gotten a lot of calls per Shams Charania. Obviously, it would take a pretty significant trade amount, right, of assets and, a big package to get these players. So this is basically the type of trade where you've got to blow us away with an offer we can't turn down in order for us to give you this player. So Jaylen Brown, and it's interesting, right? Jaylen Brown just played the first season of his extension, 5 years, $303 million. Derek White's coming off a really good season as well, where he averaged 16 points per game, shot 40% from three, was lights out, and obviously is a terrific defender. Same as Jaylen Brown, two-way player, plays on both ends on the floor, and averaged over 22 points per game and was efficient. Jaylen Brown also played through a knee injury, so he wasn't quite 100%, but still went out there and competed. So you got to give him credit. He's coming off knee surgery. But are the Celtics going to trade him? And that's really the thing. So we know the top three, I think, is going to be this. I think the top two is automatic locks. We know Cooper Flag is going number 1, and we know Dylan Harper, the guard from Rutgers, is going number 2. It's really going to be interesting. What do the 76ers do at number 3? Do they take VJ Edgecombe, the terrific athletic guard and wing from Baylor, or do they take Ace Bailey? Or do they even take someone else? Do they shock and take somebody else like Con Knuppel from Duke as well? Like, what are they planning to do? What the Sixers planning to do, right? But it's gonna be interesting, right? Like, what do the Celtics, do the Spurs, or do they go all in and say, you know what, let's go get Jaylen Brown, we'll give them the lottery picks plus more, and then obviously Dylan Harper goes to Boston, or do they get an offer for Derek White? Again, and I told my boy this, I'm like, we've seen Desmond Bane get traded for 5 picks total, 4 first-round unprotected, and a pick swap. We've seen Mikal Bridges last year go for 5 first-round picks. And I think that is the similar thing here for Derek White. And it's crazy to think that a role player is going for so much more than like Kevin Durant getting only traded for a first-round pick in 5 seconds. Luka Doncic only got traded for a first-round pick and a pick swap. Like, we're seeing these stars get traded for so much less, but we're seeing these role players who haven't even made an all-star selection, their value is much more higher than that. It's very crazy. And I think that's what the Celtics, they're trying to do. They're saying like, hey, if we're seeing these moves here, that's the type of return. That's what's going to take for you. If you want to get Derek White from us, that's the type of return you're going to have to give us 3 to 4 first-round picks plus in a player to get Derek White. Jaylen Brown is a legit number 2, 1B option on a team, or could be your number 1 on a lot of teams. Same thing there. And I think the Celtics, similar team, they value Jaylen Brown a lot. And they don't want to trade Jaylen Brown, but if they get an offer they can't refuse, they're going to take that offer. But if I'm the Celtics, I'm staying pat. Look, Tatum's hurt. You still want to be competitive in the Eastern Conference. You may not win the title this year. It'd be shocking without Tatum, but keep Jaylen Brown. You just extended him. To me, this is a guy that you want to keep and be a core player of your team. And look, Brad Stevens, he has done a phenomenal job since taking over that presidential role in that front office. He's done an excellent job. And I do expect him to keep Jaylen Brown and Derek White, but I wouldn't be surprised, or in the moment I'd be surprised, but I'm like, I remember this, right? And then lastly, but when I end this video, what's going to happen with Giannis? Does Giannis make a move tonight? Does he, decide to leave Milwaukee? I want to trade, and is there a trade kind of in the works that sends Giannis out during a huge blockbuster draft day trade with Giannis? But I don't expect that to happen. But, it could happen. So we'll look out, see if Giannis, if there's any noise with that. Shams Charania, I'm sure he's going to be working the draft. And obviously Malik Andrews, Kristaps Porzingis, Jay Billis, and everybody in the crew, Stephen A. Smith, will be working the draft tonight. So this is a very exciting draft. This is the Cooper Flag draft, the lottery, and I'm definitely itching to see what all comes out from the NBA draft. So thank y'all for watching this video. I know it was a bit long, but I hope y'all have a blessed day today. Stay safe out there. Love y'all. Peace.